Have you ever had that fantastic idea? Made something really beautiful, awe-inspiring, unique, one of a kind, and friends tell you, oh, that's so cool, and wonder if you have a moneymaker on your hand. Maybe you've considered a career in being a creative, but you're not sure if it's a journey you want to do. Hi everyone, I'm Kate Peabody, one of your Clear Creek Makerspace Growing You coaches, and today we're asking the question, do I even want to be a maker entrepreneur? This session is meant to give you a better sense of what it looks like to be an entrepreneur and if it's a path you want to take, and help provide some clarity on where you are in the process and where you might focus your attention in next steps. This is a short version of the full workshop that we held in person. We hope you will join us for future workshops at the Clear Creek Makerspace, sponsored by Growing You. So let's go ahead and dive right into this conversation with the help of the Entrepreneur's Roadmap. You can download the PDF and follow along if you would like. We start in the conceptualization phase, right? This is where you're coming up with that great idea and starting to refine it based on a variety of criteria, right? Does it break? Does it look good? Do people like it? And that's a part of the important part of being an entrepreneur, is that the idea could be great to you, but is it also interesting to your target market? So in this conceptualization phase, it's really important to be connecting with the people that the product or service is for, and to be going through the rapid prototyping phase to get to a product or an idea or a service that is really implementable. And along the way, you're also developing a supporting business model, right? That's really making sure you have a one-of-a-kind product, right? That's your value proposition. You want to understand who your key audience is, how you're going to reach them, what kind of relationship with them you want to have. You're going to figure out what kind of resources you need, what kind of team, what kind of funding. You're going to understand the cost of your business, how you might potentially price things, what kind of revenue streams you have, just at a very high level so you can test it, right? And that then takes us into the analysis phase, right? So you need to bring all of that passion and motivation and be open and agile as you go into that analysis phase of looking now at the data. What is the market saying in terms of, is there a trend here? Is there something interesting here, right? What do your customers actually need and want? What is the business landscape? Are people able to afford this right now? Is there a taste for this? Is someone already doing this? Is there competition out there? Right? And so really going through the data and seeing, does that match your assumptions? And keep refining until it does. Or this is your moment of truth of saying, you know what? Turns out someone's already done this, or someone's done this differently or better, or I actually don't have enough information yet. So you might go through this conceptualization, analysis, discovery period for a while. Get others involved, collaborate. Don't get into siloed thinking. You want to set yourself up for success. Stay curious. From the analysis phase, we move into strategy. It's really important to understand what your mission is, what your vision is, what your values are, and really understand those clear goals for the next 3 years, especially if you want outside funding. Having those key milestones of what you expect a business to be doing and how it would be doing, producing revenue wise, is really critical. Being able to show that roadmap, because you can't do everything at once as much as you would like to. From there, the strategy is also, who are we? How do we go to market at a very big picture level, right? How are we going to operate and manage our business? How are we going to price things? Who do we need in these seats to be successful? Who are the vendors or suppliers that we need? What kind of legal and business setup do we need? Are we going to be an LLC? Are we going to be an S Corp? Do we need to be a corporation? Right? Understanding all of these things before you start going out onto the market is really important. Being able to understand how you're going to be successful, how you're going to make money, so that then you can just implement, is really critical. At this point in time, as we look at conceptualization, analysis, and strategy, there's going to continue to be that circle of feedback happening, that ongoing refinement. The closer you are with your customers during this process, the better. Once you've developed your strategy, this is another moment to look at what you have before you and really decide if this is what you want to do, if this is how you want to spend your time. Because it could be very time intensive depending on the type of product you have, right? So you will know now, once you have that strategic plan in place, of what kind of lift it might be. For example, my mom, a knitter, was knitting cowls, and her friends started seeing them, loved them. She started making them as gifts. She had a friend who did art fairs around the holiday, art and craft shows, and said, hey, you should do this. My mom thought, oh, this is interesting, right? So she started down this path, and it was really about refining her own pattern, finding those suppliers that met her quality ethic standards, and then finding the right places, the right craft shows for her to show up at. And there was a question there, right? Did she want to start an Etsy store, right? How big did she want to go? And it was just, no, you know what? For this point in my life, just a few booths a year, making a couple extra $1,000 of spending money a year. That's all I want to get out of this, right? So she was able to really think through, what does she want her life to look like? Because she's knitting all of these by hand. As it was, she was always knitting, right? But you can think about how different this process might be if you are building something more substantial or a software that really requires interfacing with your audience to understand exactly what they need, what they look like, where you're going to get that produced, or maybe you've got the next amazing widget to solve some sort of problem, and it's really going to take a big scale to get it where you want, right? So your understanding through this phase is really important to then inform, is this the kind of life you want to lead? Is this the business you kind of want to run? And scale appropriately at that point in time, right? But this is another important go, no go point. If you feel really good about your strategy, everyone is on board with your product, that's when we go into planning. And honestly, like, the planning section here is really short, right? Your formal business plan, your production plan, and your sales and marketing plan. This actually does take some time, but if you've done your strategy well, this should really be about documentation. The formal business plan, really important if you're going to get funding, but at least having that solid business model is really critical. Production plan, right, is how are you going to make all of these things and get them to your audience. And then the sales and marketing plan, very high level, following down from the strategy. Okay, we said we're going to target this audience. Now, how exactly are we going to do that? What does that actually look like? From planning, right, you got to make those commitments. We move into implementation. Implementation is where the real hard work begins. You need to have that perseverance, be resilient, because you've now got to implement everything that you've just been thinking about and designing, right? So this is now putting into action, getting all of those legal forms created, getting the bank account set up. Maybe now's the time to arrange funding for your business overall, start getting those business systems together. Maybe you need to hire or contract some additional support. You've got to allocate resources then specifically for your product development. Maybe you need to get manufacturing going. You want to start building brand awareness at a high level with that website, and really do a pilot launch and test market, right? If you can, so you can continue to refine based on your data and feedback. For example, you maybe are designing something or building something that you could produce in the Makerspace to a certain count. And so you start your production there until you've got a really great clientele, you've got the product even more perfected. And then when there's demand, you move up your manufacturing scale, right? And so just continuing to launch, get the real feedback, and pivot is really important. Once again, stay tied to your customer satisfaction, really aggressive sales and marketing. That is one piece that a lot of small businesses miss, is how aggressive you have to be in marketing, either because we're uncomfortable talking about ourselves or we feel like we've already done a lot. But our audience needs to see the information, the content, the value proposition a lot more times than you would like for them to consider purchasing and then make a sale. Depending on what you're selling, that sale could be easier, it could be faster, right? Are you selling jewelry that they're just going to click and buy? Or is it something where you're going to need to go through a corporate procurement process and the sales cycle is a lot longer? And so being really thoughtful about having a really big, strong push for quite a while until referrals can support you. And quite honestly, like ongoing marketing and sales is always important. And of course, as you continue to scale, making sure you're focused on controlling your quality and performance. It's really important to be accountable for what you are seeing you're going to do, both for your customers and for any employees that you have. The final piece of this is just that ongoing management and growth. And I say just, but this is a big task, right? Whether you do it yourself or you want to live in your genius and the maker and hire support, whether that's through a virtual assistant or other team members, sales teams members, right? You've got to watch how much time and energy you are putting into things. Because when we think about resources for most small businesses and entrepreneurs, you are the biggest resource. You are the most important resource. So as we go into ongoing management of day-to-day operations, of financial management, of getting your taxes done, of gradually scaling and innovating based on what you hear, as you grow as a leader and you grow your teams and you have to deal with managing your talent, maybe hiring and firing, it can be a lot. And so just taking care of your health, having that strategy, having that plan will help you manage better. A lot of times we feel that overwhelmed when we don't have our roadmap there to know that we are on track. Overall, this can go really quickly, these first couple phases, or it could take a long time, right? And so that really depends on your product, your idea, how complex it is that you're going out the door with it or not. I encourage you to think about where you are with your idea of, have you tested it with your target market, or have you just been playing around it with it yourself? Or if you have started a business, are there any steps that you might have skipped that maybe you want to go back and revisit? So what do you think? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Are you already an entrepreneur? Don't let the number of boxes phase you, and don't take the process lightly. Because ultimately, if you skip too many steps, you won't be successful. But if you follow the roadmap and you're thoughtful along the way, you engage your target market along the way, you get help as needed, you can do it. For those of you who have heard this and are now really wondering why you would even become a maker entrepreneur when there's so many steps, it's because it's about pursuing your passion. You get to turn what you love into a fulfilling career. You get the opportunity to have a flexible schedule and work environment, to choose the projects you want to work on, the materials you want to use, the clients you want to collaborate, right? It's that independent creativity that you get to explore to its full extent. And it allows you to experiment and innovate and develop your unique artistic voice. There's a lot of personal fulfillment when you see your creations come to life and then having them appreciated by others, right? It's that sense of accomplishment that comes from turning raw materials into finished products. It's also a chance for those who love lifelong learning to continually grow, right? As a maker, you're constantly honing your craft, acquiring new skills, exploring different techniques and mediums. And it's just a continuous learning journey that can keep the work really exciting and allows for that ongoing personal and professional growth. You'll also be a contributor to society, to your local community, whether that's by creating functional objects or art pieces or designs that enrich people's lives, sustainable practices, innovative solutions, cultural preservations, right? Professional makers contribute to the benefit of communities and society as a whole. We also know it's an opportunity to provide economic diversity to our local community, to eventually help create more jobs, to support supply chain makers, engage your community, and really bring up the innovation and creativity of our community here in Colorado even more. So there are a lot of wonderful reasons to be an entrepreneur, to go through this journey, to take these steps. Wherever you are, you have a growing you coach to help support you in that, or to connect you with a specific consultant or subject matter expert to support you. So we really hope that you will reach out to us to join the Growing You workshops in the Makerspace, to join group coaching. You'll see us around the space as well, but we're really here to help support you, not only on the business side of things, on the rapid prototyping side of things, on the leadership development side of things, but also really taking care of of you, making sure you're taking care of your well-being, you're taking care of your whole life while you go on this journey. As we close this conversation, I encourage you to document the next couple of steps that you have, the resources that you need, the timeline you want to do it in, and when you will complete those specific tasks. And then over the coming months, later this month in June, join Kyle for idea discovery and validation to really help you look at this idea that you have on this first steps of the roadmap and decide if it's worth moving forward, if you're able to move forward with it. And then next month in July, I'll be taking you guys through a business model to help you actually start to develop that first concept of how you can make some money with this brilliant idea of yours. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope to see you soon.